Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's the Pregame Show Network. I am Tolly Carr, Atlanta, Georgia. My man, your guy, Uncle Neely, Jackson, Mississippi. Neely, we had a pretty good time towards the end of this week here. As we sit here and talk, it's a Friday. On Thursday, we had a chance to sit down and have a real intimate, special conversation with Deion Sanders, head coach, University of Colorado, Coach Prime. You know the resume. Neely, I think it is so cool that Coach Prime will be intentional about his time, and he will sometimes sit down. This is the second time I've been a part of it, where he really sits down with a select set of content creators, and these are creators of color, people who are have fledgling, and I say that in a good way, content platforms, and he makes sure that they do get access to him, and they are able to ask anything they want. Nothing's out of bounds. And that is a very intentional thing on his part, and I just think that's very rare and very cool of Deion Sanders.
Man, I could not agree more. And let me echo something that you just said when you use the word fledgling. Somebody out there will take that as a negative connotation.
It's a good word. It just sounds bad, but it's actually a good word.
I love words, Dolly. Words matter. There's nothing wrong with fledgling, especially when you have the juxtaposition of ESPN, Fox Sports, Yahoo Sports, all these quote unquote big boys. So when you have a black content creator using social media and YouTube, and they've got 25, 50,000 subscribers, you damn right it's fledgling. But the only way it grows is somebody gives it the opportunity to grow. And that means some enriched soil, a little water, some sunlight. And next thing you know, they're one of the big boys too. And Coach Prime goes out of his way, man. And he'll reach out to me and say, hey, Neely, get the guys together. And there's some guys that he's identified, who are sincere. They don't always agree. It's not this group of reporters where you got to report what he wants or say what he wants. There are people in the room who have, done stories that were not favorable to Coach Prime in Colorado. But nevertheless, it's guys he knows to be sincere in their work. And he gets them together via Zoom. The Pregame Show Network we hosted, they get access to Coach Prime because these are guys who are not going to be at the post-game, press conference. These are guys who are not going to be at the bi-monthly press conferences on campus. So they do not have that access, if you will, that some of the bigger networks do. And Coach Prime, man, is just keen and going out of his way to make sure that their brothers eat too.
Yeah, and I forget who asked that was on the call, or at least someone acknowledged their appreciation, and his response was, "Hey, look, man, I came up like you. I've been doubted. I've been overlooked. Wasn't always the first in line for everything that I wanted to do." And so he remembers that feeling. And you might look at Deion Sanders and say, well, that's foolish. He's sitting on top of the world. What are you talking about? But just think back. Think back to when Coach Prime said he wanted to be a college football coach. Neely, it wasn't this.
No, not at all.
It was not what we're seeing now.
If you go back to any level of his life before he achieved it, he believed it and stated it, and people mocked it. Here's a kid coming out of North Fort Myers High School, and it was a while before he was offered a scholarship, and he had to play other sports. And when he talked about, being the highest paid defensive back, keep in mind, that's when defensive backs weren't getting paid anything. He's always been a change agent. He's always been a catalyst and a spark for institutions, for revolutions to become institutions. And so he gets it. When he sees somebody putting in that sweat equity, working their asses off, it reminds him of him, and he loves helping those kind of folks out.
So here we are. What we have? We probably had like 90 minutes yesterday with Coach Prime. We all got about 2 or 3 questions in. Now, Neely, I am never in my life going to coach a football game. I damn sure know if I ain't going to go out there and play a football game. So when I'm in the room, Neely, I really don't care about football. I'm looking on the other side of my phone, and I'm like, there's a man worth millions of dollars who has had that value and has increased it since 1985, and to my knowledge, has yet to fumble the bag. That is one hell of a run. So I want to know things like, how do you choose the team around you? How do you choose your circle? How do you not only stay relevant, but stay ahead of the game through the generations? Let's go to a little bit of the question that I had the opportunity to ask Deion Sanders, and let's hear his response.
And change is inevitable, but truth and honesty and consistency is what you win with. I've always been honest, I've always been truthful, and I always have been consistent with who I am. So that has kept me in a certain arena forever. I've always been doubted. I've always been underestimated. I've always been judged. Ain't nothing changed. Only thing that's changed is the package that you wrap it up in. Oh, that was good. God darn it. Boy, that was good. Only thing that has changed is the package that you wrap it in. But see, you may think it has changed, but I recognize it. And I identify it. And I'm good with it. So I don't lose no sleep over it. Like I could have a tumultuous day in the eyes of others, but to me, it was a good day. Because you know why? They talking. They talking. They talking. And sooner or later, that talk is going to change in some form or fashion. Like people don't really know what they hate. They don't even know what they hate nowadays. They just hateful because they're not sitting where you sitting and doing what you're doing, saying how you saying, looking how you looking, going where you going. So people don't even really know why they hate what they hate. They really don't. And I excuse them for that. I really do. I really do, Charlie. I don't have no ill feelings in my heart for nobody. And I think that's why God keeps lifting me and keep blessing me, because I have no hate in me. Like, why would I hate anybody?
And Neely, it was a very simple response. Like, integrity, truth, stay true to who you are. It wasn't some elaborate TED talk about how, hey, at 56 years old, I have not got lost in the shuffle. I stay ahead of the shuffle. I've developed all these different personas. It wasn't that complex of an answer, which sometimes, Neely, we get in this habit of overthinking, doing too much. And it comes down to these basic principles of life that will carry us. If I can borrow one of his quotes, if we keep the main thing, Neely.
Took the words out of my mouth right there. The main thing. I am reminded of the elder statesman and orator of our generation and time. That's 50 Cent. When he said, damn, homie, in high school, you was the man, homie. What the hell happened to you? Deion Sanders has been the man since high school. Most people fall off. Most people cannot maintain a trajectory of success. How many times does the kid that's in your high school yearbook is most likely to succeed don't succeed? How many times the person you went to college with and they were the big man on campus, they ain't the big man after graduating from college? Deion Sanders has found a way to stay relevant and not just ahead of the curve, but the tip of the spear and the things that he touches and works on. I was about to say probably one of the first, but it was actually the first. The first contemporary interview we did with someone of Deion Sanders' caliber was with Troy Aikman on the pregame show. February 21st, 2021, Memorial Stadium, Jackson, Mississippi. Sat down with Troy Aikman, and we talked about this. And Troy Aikman brought it up. He said, man, I've got Super Bowls. Emmitt's got Super Bowls. Michael Irvin's got Super Bowls. We have been to the Hall of Fame. We've got gold jackets. But somehow this guy is not only just as relevant, he's more relevant now than he was when we were all playing. Our stuff plateaued and leveled off. We're still quote unquote celebrities, but Deion is bigger now than he was then. And I expect him to be bigger 10 years from now than he is right now. And it's like you said, Tali, it's through his truth and honesty and the way he comes across. But I added a log on that fire. I think this is his gift of discernment. The guy can really see around corners. He can read people. He knows rooms. He is the same person no matter who's in the room. And I think all of that has continued to propel him now for going on 40 years.
And, it really puts this entire week in perspective, coming off the spring game. The next news cycle was what Deion tweeted, what Shedeur tweeted, and all of that. And we have content up there. You've probably read it in a million different places and have formed your opinion by now, one way or the other. And we did talk about that on the call as well. But he still stays above it. because whether you like it or not, you can't call it fake, Neely. And if you are consistent with who you are, what are they going to do?
They can't do anything to you when all you're doing is being yourself. To that own self be true. Here's a man who walks around in overalls, coveralls, and a cowboy hat, and rocks a great beard when he wants to, shaves it when he wants to. Most Black people in professional circles, particularly coaching, do not get to be themselves. They don't get to dance when they hear good music. They don't get to show their personality. They walk around, in this glass house, and they can't move like they would typically move amongst and around their own people, even though most of them are coaching their own people. Deion Sanders has a gift where he is himself. He's going to be himself. And that has been passed down, to his blood children and the people on his team. One of the things I saw this past week, Tolly, that was happening out there, here is Shadur Sanders, who does a tweet, describes someone who was barely a teammate because they weren't on the same team long, as mid at best. And the world comes after him and even tries to declare it's stuff like that that will hurt his draft stock. Where was the hurting of draft stock for Baker Mayfield? Where was the hurting of draft stock for Johnny Manziel? We have this measurement of standard that's put on, I'm gonna put it bluntly, on Black folks, on Black athletes, on Black coaches that doesn't exist in any other spectrum. And these people are people. They're allowed to be themselves. They're allowed to respond when they get attacked or offended. And what I saw this week from Coach Prime and from Shadur Sanders is, man, it was a clean punch. It was well above the waist. It was an earned, jab back at someone who was coming for them. But they continue, as Coach Prime said, he ain't new to this, he's true to this. The spotlight's been on him since 1985. They continue to be able to weather these storms, no matter how much it rains. The arc that they're building is an arc that can carry us all there. And Deion Sanders knows what he's doing when it comes to media space, baby.
There's so much there. Let's slowly unpack. Neely, I'm doing something that is so me. I'm going back, and I am fully enthralled in the old TV show Dallas. Right? We all know Dallas. JR, Bobby, Pam, Miss Ellie. As a kid, I hated it. Never watched it. As soon as the Dukes of Hazzard went off and I heard that music, I had to go. But now as an adult, you look around, TV and all the content spaces are full of reality shows and things I can care less about. So I was like, let me go back and just see what all the hype was. And man, I started watching Dallas and I can't stop, Neely. It is so good. It's so good. But here's my point as I get back on center here. Look, JR was crazy. Like, his family didn't like him. But if anybody picked a fight with JR, they were going to have to fight with the rest of the Ewings. So they're in a saloon. Somebody punches JR and Bobby and Ray and everybody else is going to jump in. And at the end of that fight, just like on the Dukes of Hazzard, a barroom brawl, everybody slaps each other on the back. Great job. That felt good. You're sitting there watching it. The music was right. It set the tone. You're like, hey, I like that. Those guys stood up for each other. Back in the office the next day, everything's good. Well, in real life, what we saw was a bar fight on Twitter, right? somebody shot at the man's son, and the man fired back, and it was a very quick bar fight, and it was over.
I was about to add that it didn't last long.
It was 1 or 2 punches, and it was lights out. Coach Prime did talk about that to us. Let's hear a little bit about what he had to say.
Now, every now and then, you say something about my kids, I'm going to holler at you. I'm going to holler at you. But most of the time, I let it go. And sometimes I'm having fun. Like I was bored yesterday. I'm in the Big 12. I'm bored. Like, hey man, come on, y'all want to do this? Let's do this. You want to do this? Y'all really want to? I can't go with my mind and go at them with my mind because my mind is a killer. Like my mind is gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt. It's gonna make you bleed. It's gonna make you think about this thing after this is over. And I can't do that because I know how hard I go. So I try my best to refrain. But like when you posted like stats, I said, Lord Jesus, like, dang, he really went at it. Like he really shot it. That's really what I meant. And I think that was taken wrong. I think that was taken sideways, of something else. But the other gentleman that came at Shedeur, now I came back. Now that was me, just like, all right, now my baby going top five. Well, what about you? Like that was real. So I got to do better on that and not ride with it. But I was bored. I was bored, and I didn't say nothing hurtful. I don't attack people. In the misconception, when I played, I never talked, Dalvin. I never talked on the field. I never said nothing to my opponent. I had too much respect. So I have respect here and now as well. But every once in a while, I want to play, and then I get petty, every once in a while. But I'm not going to try to harm or damage a kid because I know I could handle that kind of stuff. I could handle that. That's been happening my whole life. A lot of people can't handle that. It's like some kids that leave and take a shot and, shoot back over their shoulder. They don't know what they're aiming for. They just shoot. Now, the problem is when other people shoot back, they ain't ready for all them bullets because they ain't got but one shot. They ain't ready for that. And it's some crazy people out there that don't care nothing about you or me. And they just angry and hateful and just want attention. This generation just wants attention. Half the people don't believe what they're saying. They don't do no homework. Like you guys are football aficionados. You know when somebody don't know something about the game. Like they saying this guy ain't this. Well, darn it. Did you watch the game? Like they don't know. They just talking and they feel like since they're hurting, they want to inflict pain on someone else. And that's the way it goes. But my brother, I appreciate the question, but this has been going on my whole life. I'm not new to this. I'm not as well. And I prepare our team for this kind of nonsense as well. I truly prepare them so our young men are ready. And I pray to God they don't get out of character. But it's just odd to me. This is what's strange to me. That great weekend with the game, with the festivities, great recruiting weekend, 1 million recruits up there that can flat out play and change the complexity of your program. And right after that, somebody go find a young brother to talk about another brother. And is that okay? How's that okay? That hadn't been with us in a year, and I had to really do my homework to say, oh, okay, that's who that is. Like I really had to do my homework, and the coaches had to hit me to it because I see so many darn kids. And then even, God help me, but you go find somebody to badmouth us that ain't been with us. Why you ain't talking about the team you're with or the team you're getting ready to go to? Like why us? And how can this gentleman not know that you're being used? But you don't want to jump into that because now you're going to get used again. Now the fans getting ready to jump on you and you ain't built like that mentally and emotionally. You're not prepared for that onslaught. So you got to be careful with that. And that's the sad thing about it. You're not built for that kind of stuff, man. Like don't do that. And nobody mistreat nobody, man. Like we don't do that. I don't condone that. Y'all been around me. Y'all know how I get down. I don't mistreat anybody. I don't play that. I don't condone that. And for some of the things, and I don't understand how this could be allowed, but this can't. You can say something about me, but when somebody shoot at you, you sensitive. You can't do that. You can't shoot your gun at me. I hate using gun, but you can't shoot at me verbally. And then somebody shoot at you and you sensitive. You can't do that. That's not how this is played. If you don't want to be attacked, just get out of it. Just don't say nothing.
All right, Neely. So look, people, whatever you think is what you think. Maybe you don't agree or believe or whatever with Coach Prime and what he said. That's fine. We're not here to convince you. We're just giving you information. But Neely, I think one of the things that I hate the most is that there's so much misinformation, so much lack of information, and people are drawing these conclusions and going on these rants. Listen, Neely, these people in the NFL, how long have they known Shadur Sanders? Do people think that he's just this guy that randomly popped up and they're like, oh, let me watch his Twitter account and see what he does, and I don't know about this guy? Neely, this kid has been around decision makers, big time players, former players who are now executives his whole life. He ain't no stranger to these people, Neely. A tweet, whether you like it or not, is not sending him to the third round.
It ain't sending him to the third pick. He is who he is and going to be who he is as far as his draft status. Because one thing that matters, and I touched on this in our last chat, Tolly, as long as there's a scoreboard, what matters is winning. And this is a young man who is leading this Colorado Buffalo offense and this team, and he knows how to put points on the board. He knows how to move the ball down the field. He knows how to take care of the ball. One of the highest completion ratings in the nation, whether that was in the SWAC or the Pac-12. I imagine it's going to be the same or go up even higher in the Big 12. And people want a winner, Tyler. He knows how to win. You send out a tweet defending your father, I don't think that's the kind of thing that will drop your draft stock, not only from a third pick to a fifth pick, but let alone to a different round. The only thing that's going to impact your draft stock negatively is your negative performance. And Shedeur has done everything possible this offseason to perform better than he did last year. And the team, the head coach, the general manager, David Kelly, the head of recruiting, Corey Phillips, the chief of staff, Ray Forsett, have done everything to give him the tools around him to be more successful this year, including receiving weapons as well as a revamped offensive line. That's where the draft stock comes in, winning. And Shadur Sanders is a winner. Ain't nobody worried about no tweet.
At all. There are actually publications out there that are trying to make their name. I mean, publications that I think are, reputable by their name, just like your first thought. I mean, people are out there trying to send them to the second round, Neely. Like, oh, our draft analyst says he's picked number 30 at bet. Oh, I'm like, help me, Jesus.
Yeah, they got all that wrong this year, too, whether it was a Michael Penix coming from Washington being picked up by Atlanta, the number of quarterbacks that were going to be drafted, let alone drafted in the first round and in almost consecutive order. And they'll get it wrong again next year, because here's the truth. The NFL is changing to an offensive league, and the offensive league is predicated by quarterback play. And so points are going to have to be scored. The rules are changing in favor of the offense. And here's a guy who knows how to score. There will be a team, there will be teams, plural, who are going to be in need of a quarterback for the immediate present and the future next year. They're going to be picking in the first round. They're going to be picking in the first 10 picks, and Shadur Sanders will be one of those picks, because winning matters and winning now matters, and he is ready to win now.
And as crazy as everybody is calling Atlanta, even the people that live here, that could be a precedent that they set. Like, get you a quarterback for right now and get you one for a little bit later. Look, it's no different, Neely. Look, Neely, if I get one pair of Air Jordans, I ain't ever going to wear them, because I'm afraid they're going to get wrinkled and scuffed, and I don't have another pair to go to. I'm going to put them in my closet and just look at them. Now, if you give me two, I'm a lot more comfortable. Like, all right, those get scuffed up. I got my other good pair over there. So the Falcons could be crazy. They've done crazy things before, but this, hey, Mr. Right Now and as soon as Mr. Right Now ain't Mr. Right Now, could totally change the way that teams look at picks.
And let's not forget about this model that's been out there. Whether you're counting Super Bowls, or counting just relevancy, Look at what the Green Bay Packers have done for the better part of 20 years. They've had their guy on the field, and they've had their guy for the future sitting right behind him at QB2. And when the guy on the field, whether it's injury, retirement, what have you, the next person steps in and they don't miss a beat. Like these guys have been in the playoffs and NFC championships back to back to back, consecutive, because they always keep a dominant quarterback on the roster, and not just one of them, but two of them. It is a position you want to invest in. It's a position you want to have for the future. And there's no way Shadur Sanders is a second and third round pick. I will tell you that some folks out there understand that when you have the hashtag Coach Brian, hashtag Deion Sanders, hashtag Shadur Sanders, hashtag Travis Hunter, and anything you post, it gets clicks. And when you post negative stuff, it tends to get more clicks. So you're going to see more and more of that. You're going to see people saying, oh, he ain't this, he ain't that, because someone's going to see the headline and click on it. And they ain't about telling the truth, Tyler. They're about getting the click.
Well, you can make your money either way. You can make your money either way. You could be MSNBC, you could be Fox News. You can go either way. You're going to make your money because that is the passion and the fanaticism that has taken over college football. And Neely, there's a new dynamic. What if? And I just say, what if to kind of be neutral here? We could take it as far as when Coach Prime really has that season. Like if this season turns out to be that season, and they're in the conversation for major bowl games, for championships, and you can look at the results and say, hey, that program is top 5, top 10, whatever, number 1, whatever it turns out to be. This will be the first time that we've seen a man of color lead a college football program and do it however he damn well pleased. That is a dangerous, in some circles, a dangerous proposition. In others, a very enlightening, something that will really inspire and could lead to a lot of change, Neely.
Absolutely, Tolly. Every institution was once a revolution. I don't care if it's traffic lights out there, people fought against it. Henry Ford said if he asked the people what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. Sometimes you just have to be a maverick and go out and do the damn thing, whether people have your vision of believing it or not. And what Rick George, the athletic director of Colorado, has done in giving Deion Sanders the same opportunity that the SWAC did at the HBCU of Jackson State to show that he can do it at this level and do it high. When you look at the 800% increase in revenue from merchandise, when you look at the sold out games back to back that hadn't happened since the national championship days at Colorado, winning is not just winning on the field, it's winning off the field. And when this ship turns and it starts to win on the field consistently and consecutively, you better believe what was this revolution of hiring a guy like Deion Sanders will become an institution. I hearken back to when Barry Bryant had to go to the West Coast and played a team full of brothers and got back to Alabama and said, I got to get me some of those. And you ain't seen it change since. Some of those are on every team now in the majority because winning is what matters. And I think what you're going to see in Deion Sanders, coaching the way he coaches, being who he is, and also, an institution, being kind of laissez-faire, hands off and letting him be who he is. Once the winning starts and continues, you're going to see it replicated across the nation, Tyler. People want to win. People want their programs to make money. And Deion Sanders is establishing a blueprint of how you get it done. You already had go from 1-11 to 4-8. And we all know who followed the program closely that 4-8 could have just as easily, been 6 wins or 7 wins with a bowl game. But even the 4 wins is a 400% improvement. You get a 400% improvement this time, you're in the college playoff, man. And people understand the math of winning, and they understand that Deion Sanders is capable and has built and is building a winning program from the floor up. And so this is the season to show where this program is truly headed.
And one of the unintended consequences of name, image, and likeness and the transfer portal, college football feels more like the NFL than it ever has. And so, Neely, when you look at, 30%, 40%, these roster turnovers, there's so many people, as fans sitting back, oh my God, what's happening? It's turmoil. They can't keep it together because you're not accustomed to college football looking like that. But the NFL, you turning over a roster ain't nothing new. New England, look, we need to keep Brady. We need to keep Gronk. We need to keep a slot receiver, some key linemen, and we can change that running back every year. We can change whoever's on the outside wide receiver every year. We can change a lot of that every year. And the ship kept on rolling. Coach Sanders talked yesterday to us about how comfortable he was with more NFL coaches because that was the atmosphere that he was most accustomed to. And so the unintended consequence, getting back to that, Neely, I think this can open up the door to a lot more, at least, former NFL players who maybe just couldn't find that next thing. I think of somebody like Antonio Pierce with Las Vegas. We all remember him as a player. He was doing some coaching. He was with, Herm Edwards. But man, they gave him a chance to be interim head coach, and it just took off. And he wouldn't have been a guy you would have thought of traditionally. You would have thought about, let's get a rehire. So as college football starts to look more like NFL and these portals, and you turn over your roster, and it's more about appeasing the player as opposed to a coach who just tells them what to do and they got to listen. I think it'll create a lot of opportunities for former players who might not have been getting shots in the other areas in the past few years.
Absolutely. When you start with AP, Antonio Pierce, right there with the Las Vegas Raiders, he has an earring in his ear. And the earring is in his ear during game times, on the sidelines in their press conferences. Who would have thought that? An NFL head coach with an earring. But these are the times we live in because guess what matters? Earrings don't matter. What winning is what matters. And when he turned that team around as interim head coach, it solidified his opportunity to get that job, even being who he was, a guy with the earrings, something that wouldn't have happened in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, or any part of the 2000s is happening now. Same thing when you look at this portal impact in the way rosters are managed. Coach Prime said last year when everybody was on the attack, how are you going to have a team ready when 80% of the roster turned over? When I won the first 3 games there in a row, and what he told everybody was, it happens every year in the NFL. Every year in the NFL, people retire, free agents come in, and the big chunk of the team turns over. And through training camp and coaching and game planning, you're ready to play. The same thing can happen in the college level. Again, attack for the way he utilized the portal in recruiting and building a team. And a year later, University of Georgia lost over half its recruits to the portal. Over half, Tolly, have now gone that they brought in a year ago. And so what I say to people out there, any program that's worth anything is going to have roster turnover because it means you're recruiting. If you're recruiting good talent year after year, there's this sweet spot when all of this good talent is there at the same time and somebody realizes, I don't have the opportunity here that I thought I was going to have, and they leave. It is going to be 15 to 30 people in your top 10 programs leaving every year if you have recruiting and coaching that's worth a damn.
And Neely, you know what they're doing in Georgia right now? You know what they're doing in Atlanta right now? Exalting Kirby Smart. Continuing to parade him around. And I don't blame him.
Yeah. But two time zones to the west in a small college town called Boulder, Colorado, then the nation looks at it like it's on fire. When it's the same mechanics, Solid. It is the exact same mechanics. You're managing your roster. You're making sure that you're putting the best players on the field because the scoreboard matters. And if that hurts somebody's feelings and somebody has to leave because they think they got a better shot somewhere, the train keeps on rolling. Kirby Smart's going to have fall practice this August. Deion Sanders going to have fall practice this August. And it doesn't matter how many people left. It's about how many people come in and who you got ready to play when it's time to play. And
look, and you can leave and go be productive somewhere else. You can leave and go get money somewhere else. It's
absolutely. Here's the beauty of the portal that I love so much. It's freedom. It's opportunity. And including in freedom and opportunity also includes the freedom and opportunity to make the wrong decision. We've all done it as adults. Now you get to do it as a young person in college, as a young adult. Sometimes the grass ain't greener. Sometimes it actually is. Sometimes there are better opportunities somewhere else. And you get to explore those because the one thing you know is that you don't have an opportunity where you are. And so you have to strike out and go try your luck somewhere else. That's the beauty of the system. As I said before, Tolly paraphrasing, the portal giveth and the portal giveth away. I say, blessed be the name of the portal. I ain't got a problem with it.
We want to be entertained. The fans want to be entertained. Neely, I don't want Alabama to win it every year. I don't want Georgia to win it every year. I like chaos. And if the system can hold it, so be it.
Knock, Tolly. Let me knock at your door a second. With the collectives and the NIL and the portal, Georgia ain't gonna win it every year. Alabama ain't gonna win it every year. There's now something going to be called parity because everybody can get the players that they want.
Yeah, and expanded playoff on top of that. So batten down the hatches, boys. Here she comes. Neely, I hope people enjoy the conversation as much as I do. We pre-record these things, one take, we don't start over. Right before we started this conversation, we spent about 5 minutes trying to figure out what we wanted to talk about. And finally, we said, the hell with it. Let's just start talking. And whatever comes out is what it's going to be. All right. Well, you want to just kind of flow here?
Yeah,
see where we go. By the time we figure it out, we might just be able to do it. And I feel like we talked about everything I wanted us to talk about that I couldn't articulate before we started talking.
Understood, man. That's how the magic happens. Just let it flow. There's one thing I would like to throw on there in our conversation from Coach Prime when he was asked about, and matter of fact, hell, I'm the one who asked about it. Asked about the portal and bringing in a quarterback. I thought he had a very clear answer on his belief in Ryan Staub, QB2, as to why he's really not so hell-bent on bringing in a more seasoned quarterback to the room. And then also, Tyler, I think it was you to ask him about when you talked about his coaches and how he picks them. He had a tremendous amount of things to say about the new offensive line coach as well as the defensive coordinator. So I hope people get to check out those clips as well.
Well, we had a couple positions that we needed filling, and I knew the type of persons that I wanted to fill those positions. It's not about just experience and all that. It's about communication, relationships, and me sitting in front of you and understanding who I am and rocking with me. It's some good guys out there, but they may not rock with me or move how I move. So you really got to do your homework because you don't want to mess this up because you're dealing with young men that they're influencing. Like, let me find somebody that rocks with me. So upon the interview process, the Big Phil came down. He came down, we met in the pool room down there. Big George happened to be here, visiting me, kicking it. And he had no idea Phil was coming. So now, not only am I getting ready to interview a potential offensive line coach, I got an offensive line guy who played in the league as well, who knows his positions like the back of his hand, that can listen in and say, yay or nay. Now, he was just faking it, because some of the intricate details of the line, I don't know. That's offensive line. Some of the line talk I may not fathom, but he was excellent. His references that we checked was unbelievable. Some of the kids that he coached that we spoke to validated him and his tenure in the NFL and what he stood for. I say, Coach, I need them to make a highlight film of you because when you take somebody in your room, I know you could talk to them, but I want you to show them you on the field. That's going to speak volumes. So now they understand not only do you know this position, you did that at the highest of highest levels. So that's tremendous. And Rob, he's a bingo. Mike Zimmer was a bingo. Marvin Lewis was a bingo. Adam Pac-Man Jones was a bingo. So think about all these relationships that can call and validate that person to say, you know what? He the one. And when Pat called you and said, hey, man, you better hire this, you know what, because he was a white dude coaching an all-black secondary, and he don't play. He put his foot in me. He's such and such. Beep, 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 beep. That Pack is my son, but I love him to life. He's my prodigal son. So having that validation of not only Marvin and Coach Zim and others at that level, but some of the players that played for him. And when he came for his interviews, he wasn't playing. I asked everybody that we interviewed at that defensive coordinator position to already break down week one. Break down our week one and let me see you go through that as if it's Monday and we going over the scouting report for the next team. And that's what they had to do. And when I tell you impeccable and flawless and understood how to communicate with all the coaches about what we're going to do and how we're going to execute it, it was a home run.
Okay, so we just heard a little bit from that. It was a great conversation with Coach Sanders yesterday. Appreciate him. He was about to go fishing, Neely. The man is sitting here. Here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing, right? We're sitting there, and you might have noticed this in the video. In the background is an episode of PTI, Pardon the Interruption. You know, Tony Kornheiser, Mike Wilbon. They're talking about Deion Sanders live on their show while he's talking to us. I just thought that juxtaposition was kind of cool, kind of interesting.
They're talking about it behind his back, but in front of our face.
literally behind his back. And he's sitting there kicking it with some content creators that, you know, Kornheiser and Wilbon have probably never heard of. You know, Wilbon's pretty tall, man. I ran into him one time at the NCAA tournament in the buffet line, you know, back there, the media's eating. And I'm like, hey, man, he's pretty tall, which was the same reaction Neely had when he met your boy.
Yeah. Let me tell the people out there, man, don't let the blazer that he's, I hope, retired by now. Don't let the calm demeanor. You know, Tolly knocking on a good 6'3", 6'4", man. Tolly might dunk on you.
Hey, man, you know, I won't go that high. I'm a good 6'2". Definitely definitely at the 220. When I see these numbers and they're like, oh, look at that safety. Yeah, he's 6'2", 220. I'm like, I'm 6'2", 220, but it ain't built the same.
No, it ain't muscle. That's 220 a muscle. You 225 a dad bod.
Woo, boy.
I'm gonna give you 6'3". I'm an easy 6'2". I can lie and say 6'3", but I'm an easy 6'2". And when I walk up to you, like you're at a slant now. Like I'm gonna push you a little north of 6'2".
You know what's amazing, Neely? My foot has grown as an adult. I went and got some running shoes the other day, and I've worn 13 my whole life. And the lady was like,
Did just one of them grow?
No, both. They pushed me up.
You said my foot grew, so I didn't know if
Neely, you know that North Carolina comes out, man. You know the subject, verb, agreement,
my foot
plural, grew. Singular. You know how we talk in North Carolina, man.
You could have went with feet.
I can't suppress it. But they pushed me up to a 14, so maybe I did grow an inch in old age too. I got an inch down on the feet. Maybe got an inch up top. But cool, man. Look, I always enjoy the conversation, brother. The Pregame Show Network. Congratulations again. Year 3 and counting. Big things. We got some big reveals coming up. I won't give them away, but a lot of exciting things in store, Dewey.
Man, absolutely. And let me give this plug again and again and again and again. Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, New York City, Chicago, Los Angeles, Charlotte, those 7 markets off the top of my head. Man, our viewership is so strong in those areas. I'm talking about 600, 700, 800,000 views. So we're reaching out and looking for content creators that are in those markets or trying to expand those markets. Come be a part of the Pregame Show Network. This is the Pregame Show Network. We have the Pregame Show. Consider it like ESPN and SportsCenter, you know, ABC, Disney. Like there's levels to this thing. And if you're in Atlanta, man, Houston, Dallas, Los Angeles, New York, Chicago, Charlotte, and you want to reach those markets, you're already doing creative things in those markets, doesn't have to be about sports, Solly. This is the Pregame Show Network. We got room for you under this umbrella. I'll let your boy when you see him.
There it is. The invitation has been extended. Won't you come?
Doors of church are open, Tom. We got a big tent.
I've never felt so much pressure in my life nearly sitting in that chair. Won't you come?
Now, let me help you to know something that you don't know, but that I can feel, and it feels great. The air is back working, baby. I got so damn cold in here.
Oh, I'm glad you are fully clothed for this episode. It comforts my soul to know. Pants and all for Uncle Neely.
We get so caught up in what we are losing or what we are lost, and we fail to realize that God will provide and not only restore, he'll make it better than when you lost it. And when I tell you this damn air is so much colder than what I thought it was before it went out, won't he do it?
All right, Polar Bear. Polar Bear Neely enjoying that AC in Jackson, Mississippi. All right, he's Uncle Neely. I'm Tolly Carr. You are you. Thank you so much for hanging out with us right here, Pregame Show Network.